Good afternoon, card fans. We have a really good episode today, which is for all card fans, really. It's not just a One Piece episode, it is a Dragon Ball episode. With me, I have John. Would you like to introduce yourself, John?
Hey guys, my name is John. I'm John Argyros. I am known for playing the Dragon Ball card game in OCE. I'd like to say I'm decent at the game, so that's toot my own horn a little bit. But yeah, I'm known for playing Dragon Ball, and I have dabbled in One Piece a little bit. Not to the same success, of course, but that's okay. I still have fun playing One Piece from every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. Would you like to? You say you've had some success. Would you like to elaborate on that with your success in Dragon Ball?
So, I think a lot of Dragon Ball players know that I'm one of the best players in the region. I ended up winning our nationals twice, and I had a good shot at winning worlds one year. Like that's what I like to tell myself, even though I lost in top eight. But I've played at worlds. I've won the nationals twice for the old Dragon Ball, which is the Masters version of the game, and plenty of regionals in that I've been able to win as well. And in the newer reboot version of the game, Fusion World, I've been able to win two regionals, and I actually came second in the regional last weekend for Fusion World, the weekend before. So I'm okay at Dragon Ball. I'm okay at Dragon Ball, I think.
Yeah, that regional was in at Sydney, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Sydney. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sydney's it was at Tramshed, I think. It was actually very nice. If you have heard of Tramshed before in the in the CBD area.
No, I haven't, but I'll keep my eye out.
Yeah.
And you've got some good results with One Piece too.
I have two decent results in One Piece. I think it was in 2023. I got a top 32 using Red Purple Law, and then in the same year as well, it was 2023 or 2024 as well. I got a top 16 in the Melbourne regional using Enel, so that was in set 7. So yeah, I've had a decent shot at decent few runs at One Piece, but yeah, I don't play it as much as other players to have those consistent results. I just play it here and there.
Yeah,
So yeah, I do have a blue purple Luffy deck built though. I ended up buying myself the alt art leader, so when I go to locals, I can flex. It's like
yeah,
yeah, that's it.
nice. Yeah, the art leaders, it's always a big flex.
It is.
Um, the so that's like so as you know, we've mostly been talking about One Piece, but if we can talk about your success with Dragon Ball at the moment, how long did you play it from when it came out, or was it something that you
I
stumbled
did.
into?
So for me, starting Dragon Ball, this is like, I think the original Dragon Ball came out 2017 or 2018. I can't remember exactly. But at the time, I wasn't really into card games or anything. When I was a kid, I played a bit of I had Pokemon packs, I had some Yu-Gi-Oh packs, whatever. I don't really know how they worked. I was just like standard, played with my high school mates or whatever, and
Yeah,
primary school mates at the time. And then but I've always been like, you can tell from my backdrop, I've got a bunch of Dragon Ball stuff in the background. So I've just been a huge Dragon Ball fan, right? And so when I heard there was coming a card game coming out, I convinced my cousin that we the get a booster box and start playing it, and we actually had a lot of fun playing it, and we've been kind of hooked since. Even my cousin still plays. My cousin's actually one like a really good player as well, so we've been been able to play together and whatnot. So it's been that's kind of how I started with Dragon Ball, and then it's kind of led just from playing the game for so long at this point. I've met countless of people, and a lot of them go to other card games or stay. And that's kind of been like my entry point, just to knowing a lot of people in the TCG community in Australia, just through Dragon Ball. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, and I'm very happy. Me and my cousin started playing. I'm very happy about that.
yeah, that's awesome. So in at the beginning, love of Dragon Ball. Do you think that love of Dragon Ball has helped as like you to continue playing for that long? Like when did you say it came? 2017, the
I
first
think
version.
2017 or 2018. I can't
Yeah,
remember
so
exactly one
that's
of those
like
2 years.
it's a long time of playing Dragon Ball. So
Yeah, it is a very long time. Yeah, I
yeah,
think definitely my love for the IP helps. I think a lot of players haven't stuck around as long because obviously there's plenty of card games to try. Like throughout Dragon Ball's been out, like Bandai's had the big explosion with card games with Digimon, One Piece, obviously, and now Gundam's coming out, right? So there's plenty of games to try. But I think what's always drawn me back to Dragon Ball is that I've just as a kid I watched Dragon Ball on TV, and it's just like something I've just liked growing up. So it's probably my favorite IP. So I'd say that's why that's what's helped me stick to Dragon Ball for so long. But I think it's more evolved from me loving Dragon Ball to me also starting to love playing card games now. So I've been dabbling. That's why I'm happy to try other card games
yeah,
alongside Dragon Ball.
yeah. So yeah, it's just the love of the IPs brought you in, and then the card games snagged you by the heart.
Snagged me by the heart, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
like it does
Yeah.
for all of us. So you started there when it came out. When did you think, oh, you know what? Like, there's regional events. I want to get good at this, and I want to play in these regional events. Was that an instant thing, or was it something that you built into?
So, all right. I'll be honest. I've been very lucky with my Dragon Ball run. So I remember when I first started, I didn't really know anything about the card game scene or regionals, whatever. Right. I just know that like there were stores that ran tournaments and that, and I was like, all right, I'll go to the locals or whatever. Right. I ended up winning my very first local I went to. I remember it was not too far from my house. I was like, all right, cool. It was pretty cool. I had a fun time. I won. Cool. And I went
Yeah,
to other locals with like varying success just at the time, like same one. So I was like, I knew I was somewhat decent. And then Dragon Ball didn't really have regionals at the start. They had store championships, so there was a bunch of like store champs and whatever, right?
yeah,
And I went to a lot of, not too many, I can't remember, but I ended up finishing like second or third at a couple of store champs. And back then, the store champs were cool because you actually got a trophy for store champs in Dragon Ball now. So I was like pretty sick, right? Just for going like not a proper trophy, but like a cool, just a physical piece of like a prize, right? It
yeah.
was just
Like a
really cool,
physical,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
So
cool.
yeah, and because, like I said before, Dragon Ball was the very first card game I played. So there was people that came from other card games that were playing it, and obviously there was high-profile players at the time. I remember a few names that stood out was like Luke Fletcher. He played a bit of One Piece. I don't know if he still does actually, and then Quan as well. Those are like some of the top name players. So there was people around that were good at card games, and anyone can vouch for this. I'm very competitive, right? So I
Yeah,
always try.
yeah,
I try to do really well at these events. And the first regional was in Melbourne, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to this tournament. And I was hearing people was like, oh yeah, this guy's probably going to win. That guy's probably going to win. Whatever, right? And I'm sitting there to myself. People are telling this to me in my face. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna win. Is what I'm thinking to
yeah,
myself. I didn't say that out loud. But that's what I was thinking. Is like, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna show everyone who I am. And I ended up winning my first regional I played at. So that's what kind of kickstarted my thing. I'm just that competitive nature. I just wanted to prove myself to people. That felt so good. Just hearing so many people at the very start be like, dude, this guy's gonna win, that guy's gonna win. And no
yeah,
one even mentioned me. Because to be fair, I was a nobody back then, right? So it's
yeah,
fair enough. And
yeah,
me just going in, full guns blazing, it's like, hello, I'm the winner today, you know? So that's how I started with my
yeah.
first regional.
That's great. So having that confidence going in there, had you put in the practice and the reps and everything to back that confidence up, or were you like it's easy to go and go, oh, I'm going to go in, I'm going to go 6-2 and finish top cut. Like you must have had some inkling that you were going to play well.
Um, Look, I will say, like obviously, I think a big thing for card games, and like I briefly talked about this before, right? A big thing about card games is that I'm a firm believer of the amount of work you put into something, you should get rewarded that same way. So let's just say now. Let's just say now I play 10 games of Dragon Ball or One Piece or whatever card game a week, right? That means I've leveled up myself or grown by 10 games, right? Versus if I did 100 games instead, I've grown by that much instead, right? Now,
Yeah,
obviously, that's not like 100% like accurate representation. Maybe I get more out of my 10 games than I did out of my 20 or 30 games, right? You do eventually get to diminishing returns, but at the same time, I'm still putting the effort in to improve. And this is applicable for anything. This can be applicable for like for work, for like physical activity, for anything like that, right? And of course, at the time, I was going to like 2 or 3 locals a week. I was playing with my cousin. I was playing with a few of my friends, and I could feel that I was good at the game. Like I wouldn't say I was amazing, or I was great or awesome, whatever, right? But I felt like I had an understanding for how the game worked, and I was able to like give people a run for their money. Um, and I think the confidence as well is that like for me, I think this is a funny take, but I think a lot of people don't understand not don't understand, but don't believe in themselves enough, right? They're not confident, like their confidence, right? So I'm
yeah,
a firm believer that every single top player in anything has some sort of an ego. That's just for me. That has to be the case, right? There's no way
yeah,
you can sit there being like number one at like ranked sin in OP or the number one ranked player in Fusion World on the online client, right? There's no way you get to that spot without having some form of an ego. It doesn't mean you go out like and just brag about it or whatever, right? But you have to like have that ego and be like, yeah, that's me. I'm that guy, right? I'm the man. I'm the man, right?
yeah,
So for me, if I don't believe I'm the man, how can I convince you that I'm the man, right? if I don't believe in myself to be able to make the distance, how 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 am I going to prove it to anyone else? If I don't believe me, no one else is going to believe in me, right? So that's kind of how I see it. For me, I believe that on any different given day, I can beat anyone, right? In
Yeah.
in Dragon Ball, right? It came from Dragon
Yeah.
Ball, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I believe in myself. Does it always pan out that way? 100% no. I lose all the time, right? Like I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, right? But I have that confidence in myself that I can reach these heights, and I'm just gonna keep on trying until succeed. That's pretty much like how I see it. And I have to believe in myself. I have to believe that I can do it before other people start believing that I can do it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Was talking about this with Ernest, and I was saying to him, I was like, how do you mentally, when you're playing, and you might go like 2-1, and you know you've got to win the rest to get into top cut. I was like, what sort of like, how do you stop the down talk? And he's like, oh, you don't down talk, you up talk. You're like, I can do this. I am going to do this, and it's that positive spin, which you know, listening to you talk about, it's very much the same thing, right?
Mm.
So,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
and that's a mental thing that I've probably got to cross off for myself as well, is that I can go to these events and I can perform. So,
Yeah. Like,
which is really cool. Uh,
yeah.
so the preparation there, where you mentioned that you're playing like 2-3 locals a week, you're got your cousin and your friends in testing matches and things like that, the online client. Um, between big events, is the load the same, or do you taper into big events? Do you lift your volume into big events? How do you approach that?
So for me, right? So it depends on how you look at it. So there's playing your card game to have fun, just for the sake of playing the card game, and then there's playing the game so that you can improve and get better, right? So, um, like I said before, I'm very passionate about card games. I play card games all the time, right? Like I've actually recently, and then my missus hates me for this. I've recently, Final Fantasy got me into Magic, so I've been playing a little bit of Magic on the side, right, with some of my friends, right? So for me, that's my for fun card game. I'm doing that just to have fun, right? And then so when it does come to these big events, of course, like let's just say nationals is coming around the corner. It's crunch time, right? I need a grind. I'm not playing for fun decks. I'm just playing the decks that like I believe that are like the tournament contending decks, right? And I just put more effort into getting high quality games with high quality decks versus just playing my for funds decks and whatever, right? Like a good example is that now like normally a lot of people don't play cards after a big regional weekend, which is fair enough, right? People have burnout. So for me, instead, though, I'm not playing Dragon Ball this week. I'm playing Magic the Gathering this week with my friends instead, right? We're just
Yeah,
hanging out. It's like that. So it's just the same thing as, like, let's just say now, if you do finish a big event, I'm going to take some time off. But my time off, it just so happens to be playing another card game, right? It's
different
just like
card
that.
game. Yeah,
Yeah. Whereas other people's time off might be just not touching cards at all, or might be like, whatever they decide to do, right?
yeah,
So I think that you should always concentrate on the next event when it comes closer and closer. Like I'm not expecting people to grind like 3 months in advance for like the region that just got announced, right? Maybe you can start thinking about it properly a month in advance, but it's not even that's the main thing. Like the month or 2 weeks in advance, that's kind of when that is the crunch time. But you should still be trying to get better, like even when it's no regionals coming up. Just like small things to improve upon, right? It's not like what's the saying? It's like Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
yeah.
Like
That's it.
I'm not gonna be insane playing like a 1 week of One Piece or Dragon Ball, right? It takes time to build up to that. So obviously you can put the more hours in building up to the regionals, right? But throughout, you should just actively looking to like just figure out how to get small things that you can get better at. And it doesn't even have to be things in the card game, right? It could be something such as like, how do I get more information without even playing the game? So let's just say now I work, right? I work an 8 to 4:30 instead of 9 to 5 for whatever reason. That's just my work hours, right? So during that time I work, right? If it's less busy, I'll chuck on like a deck profile or whatever and listen to it in the background while I'm doing something, right? I'm without even like touching cards or whatever, right? I am passively learning because I'm listening to someone talk about the game. And that's great. That instantly, like I'm optimizing my time, and just like that, I'm passively getting better. Another thing could be like again, like someone's listening to this podcast while they're going for a run. They're learning something. They're taking away something from this podcast, right? And they're just doing something completely different. It's about like those small things add up over time, and you build those good habits, and you will get rewarded for your small habits, right? It could be something simple like, I read one card today. I now know what this one card does without having to ask it. Or, oh, I learned something about this deck today. I learned something about that deck today. Or, oh, this player says this is a good strategy. I should try it myself. It's like that. It's you crunch up to the time of the events, but throughout you should be passively learning.
Yeah, yeah, and there's so much information out there now too, like YouTube podcasts. There's a wealth of information. Twitter, it's everywhere.
It
So
is everywhere. It is
that you
everywhere.
can learn at any given time of the day.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, it's almost like switching off is almost hard sometimes.
Yeah,
But
that is true. Switching off is a bit hard, yeah.
um, but it's interesting that you say that after a big event and like burnout, so people just don't play for like a week or two, maybe a few weeks. But your time off is playing different card games, so like Magic or One Piece. Um, have has playing different card games with different mechanics helped with how you approach Dragon Ball?
I think it has actually, because actually, when I agreed to come onto this with you, right? I was thinking because I knew you might ask something like this.
Yeah,
The one thing that carries over from into every card game, right? And when you master the skill, even me, I wouldn't say I'm like great at this. I can still improve on this, right? But it's card economy. Right? You know what every single card game has in common, right? They all have cards.
yeah,
So that's one thing you can look at all the games, right?
yeah,
The idea of card economy, right, is let's just say now we're playing a game of whatever it is, right, and we both have 4 cards in my hand. Or let's just say 5. 5 is a better number, right? So we both have 5 cards, right? I'm trying to make my 5 cards in my hand worth more than your 5 cards, right? And so obviously there's like some cards are obviously like giga broken, right? It might be something like a good example for One Piece is like 8 cost Katakuri or 9 cost Linlin, right? Like those cards are insane. Those cards on their own, those cards are easily worth like 2 or 3 cards on their own, right?
yeah,
Where other cards aren't as obvious as that. It might be let's just say now just a 1 cost blocker or something. That's maybe worth 1 card, right? It's just okay. So the idea for this is how to maximize the value out of the 5 cards you have versus the 5 cards I have, right? So a good example, I'll use the current Dragon Ball meta for example, right? The best card in one of the best cards that just came out. It's a 4 cost Majin Buu card where on play it switches all of your opponent's battle cards and Don to rest mode, right? Card's super broken, that's like crazy, right? Oh, also if it was in One Piece, I have Rush as well, right? If it was in One Piece, I'd have Rush.
yeah,
So this card's insane, right? So even though this card is insane, you don't have to just play it for the sake of playing it. You might have something else that's slightly high value. So like let's say now your opponent has an empty board and they have no Don up for whatever reason, right? The card's actually not very good to play. You just play it for 4 and it's just an okay play. But now let's just say now my opponent has a 1 cost card in play or a body I can attack into, just one, right? I suddenly can play my 4 cost card, switch that card to rest mode, and then swing into it with my leader, which is again more value.
yeah,
I'm killing one of their cards and denying them a resource from life, right? And now let's just take this another step further. Let's just say now they have 2 cards, right? So again, I play my 4 cost, I switch them all to rest mode, then I attack one of them with my leader, and then one of them with the 4 cost card I just played because it's got rush, right? So
yeah,
in that situation, my 1 card netted me the 2 cards, and I technically it netted me 4 cards because I not only did I kill the 2 bodies on their board, I also denied them 2 potential life they could have gotten. Different if it's for lethal, but let's just say this is the start of the game, both on 5 life, whatever, right? As the
yeah,
example, right? So I denied them so many resources from my 1 card. And now it's their turn, and we're having a mirror match. Therefore, they can only really deny me 1 card, right? Because they have to play this same character and swim
correct.
back into it, right?
Yeah,
So that's kind of like an example of card economy where I was able to um, use my 1 card to generate more cards worth of value, right? Which, again, depending what the card is, like One Piece example is 8 cost Katakuri, right? That's what we want to talk about as well. You play 8 cost Katakuri, you tap out your entire Don. And One Piece, a lot of the time, is about using your Don to do like big plays a lot of the time. It's very rare to float multiple, like 2, 3 Don, whatever, right? It's only some decks really float that many. So I play my Katakuri, and I get to say for the rest of the game, if you attack with your leader, it does no damage. And that
yeah,
is on its own is broken. It's like,
yeah,
so every turn Katakuri lives, I'm getting 1 card of value for free every turn. And if my Katakuri lives 3 turns, I just got 3 cards worth of value. So it's like stuff like that. It's understanding how to get the most value out of your cards versus your opponent's cards, right? I think that's what separates the okay players to like the elite players, I think. And that skill is applicable across every single card game, right? It doesn't matter what card game it is. You should be able to figure out, I need to turn this one card into 2 cards worth of value or 3 cards worth of value, right? That's kind of how you get. That's how you kind of push the limits in every card game, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
that is a tactic that I only learnt very, very recently. And I was that sort of
yeah,
card economy was
mm,
very new to me.
yeah,
And it was Elliot who pointed that out to me. He was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, I might counter out and save this card," and he's like, "No, it's not worth.
yeah,
It's not worth 2 cards to counter out.
exactly.
Like
Yeah,
you just let it go." And I'm like,
mm,
"Oh." Yeah, when you start putting card value on things, I was like, oh, that completely changes the dynamic of the game, and
100%.
it's improved my sim play a lot. I feel,
Okay, that's
yeah,
good.
but
That's good.
so that is a really, really insightful and really important thing. Thanks for sharing that. Um,
I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about it. So I'm happy you brought it up.
yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I'm more bamboozled by that now.
Sorry, I'm so sorry about that.
So the mind's ticking over of all the different card values I need to attribute to cards now. So you've been through, you've learned everything there is about Dragon Ball, and then you've gone, okay, I'm going to play competitively at One Piece. Was your approach the same? Did you switch it up? Did you play decks that you thought, I'm just going to play a deck which I think's fun, or am I still going in with a deck that I'm going to play with the intent of doing the best?
I wish I could say that I did try One Piece like 100% to be the best, but I kind of just played troll decks at the start. Like, I remember playing in set 2, I played original, I played Blue Doflamingo, and set 2 Doflamingo is not set like starter deck Doflamingo. That deck was very fair back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I also played Blue Nami, and at the time that deck was also fairly fair. So for me, the first time it was 2023. I think it was roughly about the time where I got my 2 like most notable finishes, where I did say, all right, I'm actually trying. I actually want to try and prove myself that I can be good at One Piece. And I think the process is kind of the exact same. I think, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, all I'm doing is just changing the cards I'm playing with, right? Like, and I'm playing with different people, of course, as well, because not everyone plays both Dragon Ball and One Piece. But yeah, I think the approach is still the same. I just talk to people, ask them to play games or whatever, catch up, play games, and that's pretty much the gist of it. Just same process of just practicing, watching content, talking to people, and just trying to improve that way. Now, obviously, even though there are similar mechanics in both games, obviously, like, there is stuff that is different, that is unique to One Piece. Like, a very big thing for me was triggers. At the start, I hated triggers. That was like one of my turn off for One Piece. But
Yeah.
then I think I can't remember who I spoke to specifically, but someone made me change my perspective about triggers. That made me understand it a bit better and play around it better. So, to go back to the Dragon Ball example, there's cards that you can in the original Dragon Ball. There's like cards you can activate from your hand, where your opponent can just, let's just say now I attack you, my opponent can play a card that just says your attack is cancelled, right? From in Dragon Ball.
That's
They're
great.
pretty good, right?
Yeah,
So
that's a great card.
so yeah, so then if you look at something like Enel, right? Enel kind of has similar things. You hit Enel, and let's just say you flip a trigger that says gain a life, right? It feels horrible, right? But you can still. But now think of that mentality. It's like, all right, just instead of thinking it was in their life, what if they have that card in their hand and they just did that anyway, right? It's kind of the same thing. And Enel can most of the time stack their life. So realistically speaking, you do have to plan around things in certain matchups around their life. And I think that was a really big learning curve for me. And once I figured that out exactly and my approach to it changed, I was able to have better results in One Piece, and it showed with my top 32 and top 16 finish.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's mainly just
with
playing
an
the
L.
game.
Yeah, yeah,
Enel's a good deck. Enel's the great like One Piece like easy deck to play. I think back in the day, back in set 7.
yeah. And well, there was a top deck there too, just
Yes,
recently until they nerfed Kingdom Come. But
yes,
so because now it's really hard for them to get rid of those big bodies
yeah.
and
Now
get
it's a fair
themselves.
deck, which is good.
Yeah,
It's still annoying, but it's fair.
yeah. I mean, which this beige trigger that which leads
uh,
me into the next
yes,
question.
yes,
So Dragon Ball has global release.
yes,
One Piece doesn't have that yet, but it's
yep,
coming.
yes.
Do you have any advice for people? Because as I said to you, I'm 100% a net decker. People do the hard work for me. I copy it. I might change some ratios here and there, but I'm not out there looking for cards and doing the best deck there. But with um, the simultaneous release and everyone has the same access to the same cards at the same time, there's probably an edge there for initially when things come out on deck
Yep.
building.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
so, do
100%.
you any words of wisdom?
My first, my what, my what's a wisdom? No, I think for me, I think if you're a One Piece player, you should be very excited about global release. That's my first thing, right? Now I know a lot of people, like you said, that you're a bit worried because now it's like it's easier for us now to be like, let's look at what the West is doing and copy, the East is doing, sorry, and just copy some decks, right? Which you can actually still do that though, is the thing. Like I'll give you a perfect example. You know how before I said I won that regional back in the day? I won that with a net deck that I changed I made change like maybe 5, 6 cards, right? I didn't come up with that idea. I just
Yeah,
saw that deck do well in the States. I copied it and just changed it to the things I think made more sense and better, right? So even top players will net deck, right? There's actually there is nothing wrong with net decking, and I just want to make that clear. That is fine to net deck. Some people want to be like this and that, whatever. I think all you have to do is just say that you net decked, and everyone's like, "Well, this guy's net decker, right? Like, who cares, right?" At the end of the day, I still play better than you, so whatever. Who cares if I net decked or not, right? So that's thing number one. Net decking is okay. I'm a firm believer that net decking is fine.
yeah,
The second thing is that I think for a global release, it strongly at the very start of things, it rewards deck builders a lot at the start until the meta gets figured out, right? So let's just say now a really good example from One Piece is the Sakazuki era, right? When set 5 initially hit in the East, right? Because everyone when that set dropped, everyone was like, I need to remember correctly. I think it was like yellow was at the start. Consider Enel in set 5 was the best deck, and then when people figured out that in set 5, they figured out that Purple Luffy just deletes Enel, right? They figured out, they said, all right, this is actually the best deck. And then people figured out that instead of playing big cards like Mihawk and Sakazuki, just play Rebecca Hinaluchi because it's busted. And then that was the best deck. So in that time period, you had 3 or 4 completely different metas in the exact same set, and all it was is people figuring stuff out in the card pool, and that's sick. You know how much fun? Like for me, that's like really cool because that gives you an opportunity at every time that you might have in those like 3 different meta snapshots. You might have been able to found a deck or the deck you're comfortable on is really good in that one iteration of the meta. Might not be good in other iterations, but you actually have a chance in 3 different points of time to come up with something and do something that's really good.
yeah,
Or come up with a deck that's really good, right? And then obviously after once the meta is like proper solved or whatever, right? Then it's like, all right, then things just like, all right, you need to play around this and that, whatever, right? It comes not more stale, but that's where like the net deck is, I guess, like eating good, right? It's kind of like that, and there's nothing. It's really fun to be able to do that. I think it's like one of the coolest feelings in cards is like when you come up with a cool tech and everyone starts doing that, right? I think a good example is shout out to Max Kennedy, right? He came up, he was preaching for this tech for so long. I kid you not. I think at least like maybe 1 or 2 years about there's a card. So in Dragon Ball, compared to One Piece, right? You can effectively counter out when you're attacking, like essentially like the ace leader from set 3. So I'm able to counter. I can counter cards when I'm attacking you, which I can dump my whole hand and go big numbers and go for game, whatever, right? So the card that Max was preaching was a card that all this card said was that when you counter with this card, you can place it into your trash and choose one of your opponent's cards that they're countering with and put it in their trash as well. Which that card sounds okay, but when you think of it like that card is essentially a 1k. You can use this 1k to kill a 2k, right? That's when the value starts coming in. But no one believed in Max. Everyone was like, this card, there's no way. And
yeah,
now and then he proved it himself. He ended up winning a regional, and he was like, "Yeah, this card's broken in this deck." Then the rest of the world just started playing that card, right? And like, it's a
wonderful.
staple for the rest of the thing. So I think like you have stuff like that that is really cool, and he's not going to forget that. So yeah, shout out to Max Kennedy. You know, he's a nice guy sometimes. Where so
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
yeah. But to summarize, net decking is good. Global release and deck building really fun for deck builders, and I think it'll be very refreshing when instead of just Japan, like Asia figures out the meta, the whole world figures out the meta, and you'll have the Eastern builds, Western builds, European builds, American builds, Australia builds, you know, all
Yeah,
that stuff, all that stuff.
yeah. Like that's a really good point that you raised there because I find that the Eastern style of play is very different to the Western style because when Shanks came out, like I don't think Shanks did terribly well in Asia and the East, but when it came out into the West, everyone was like, "Oh, it's a rush deck with big bodies that just like smash," and that's the perfect thing for me to do as an
Yeah,
American. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, just
it was
whack.
like a really popular deck and did quite well, even though it was sort of like maybe not to the extent that it did in the East. So yeah, that would be really interesting to see how that sort of regionality comes into it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I
Yeah,
think a good example is actually, I think it was recently. It was that Black Luffy leader that the Italians were playing, and like that
yeah,
leader came out of nowhere, right? But that was the first time it was ever played. That was really cool. You
yeah.
know how
It's
like,
super cool. Yeah.
yeah, I think the Italians are so proud about that. That's something they can brag with. Like, we came up with Black Luffy, you know, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Like
It
stuff
just
like
came
that.
out of nowhere, right? And just won that
Yeah,
regional. Did
it did
really
it.
well.
It
Yeah,
did very well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really good. So, do you see that in Dragon Ball? There's regionality to deck building.
I think there is actually. For me personally, I think just in general, I would say for card games, the Eastern players are just generally better than the West players. I don't know exactly what it is 100%. I don't know whether it's not they play more games or their approach is like more different, but for the most part, there's kind of they're more methodical, I guess is the good word for it. They'll like do things like not by the close to by the book, right? And they'll do things because if you do something when an Asian player does something, majority of the time that play makes sense. Like that's like just a blunt way to put it, right? Whereas like where someone else might do it, myself included, I'll do something that doesn't make sense, right? But at the time it just works or whatever. Like it gets me over the line, whatever, right? So I think that's I think the big difference is like so. Asian players will include fours of like everything, even if the card has no counter, right? Where um, Western players will be like, well, oh, I'm gonna sacrifice my consistency of this really powerful card to include a card that doesn't like say if it's my last card I get from life, I just lose the game, whatever. Right? Which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think the mindset of Asian players or Eastern players, I guess, is that they want to give themselves the best opportunity just to win based on their like what their cards do, and not worry as much as like, oh, if I'm losing, if I don't hit a 2K or a counter card, I just lose, right? I think that's more they're probably locked in to think they're just gonna win. Actually, I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
extra defense. I'm just gonna do
I
my thing.
have heard that the Eastern meta values consistency a lot more than
Yeah.
the Western meta does.
Yes.
Because I was like talking about it in Discord the other day, and I was like, oh, because I played Bonnie, I was like, I should add Vanderdecken to my deck, and they're like, why? And I was like, oh, because
Yeah.
you can. I was like, you play it out off kid, you can do all this, and you go up a
Yeah.
lot in value, and they're like, the use case of that is so
Niche, right? Yeah.
infinitesimally. I can't even say it. That's not
Yeah.
even
It's
right.
very niche. It's very niche,
Yeah,
right?
this is
Yeah.
very niche. They're like that. When you pull it off, it would be amazing.
I feel
But the amount
awesome.
of
Yeah.
times that you never ever play that card and it's just a brick in your hand,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyway,
Exactly. That's
yeah,
the thing, right? It's like, yeah, there's the sake. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, right? It's
yeah,
like that's
yeah,
the thing. But yeah,
yeah,
that's. I think it's that consistency thing for sure. I think that's like a lot of Asian players value that. I actually value consistency a lot. I'll maybe have like a lot of the time my deck building where I might have a one of a card, but that my idea behind the one of it has to facilitate something another card in my deck that I'm running a four of already does. So it's like I'm running a fifth copy of the card. That's kind of how I like to do my deck building, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Cool. That makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, this has been an amazing chat, and there has been a lot of information. And I think it's a testament to yourself as just a card player that
Thank you,
the
thank you.
amount of wealth of
Uh,
information transfer that you can. It's card game transcending.
yeah.
It's really
I
cool.
try. Thank
Yeah,
you,
no,
thank you.
it's been really cool. I normally finish the podcast with asking a question about One Piece, but I'm not going to do that this time.
Oh,
But
okay, okay.
yourself, you have a YouTube channel.
I
So
do. Yep.
do you have anyone you'd like to shout out and give like thanks to and name drop?
I'll name drop myself first, I guess. Those that probably know my gamer tag, True PyroShad or PyroShad. I don't post on my YouTube channel anymore, but I do have one still if you want to check that out. But I actually post a lot on my Twitter. So if you want to check my Twitter out, just check that out. I post a bunch of stuff. I just try to give back to the community. I guess I post my general draft ideas of deck lists. I just try to be active on Twitter. So shout out to my Twitter, I guess.
Yep.
And then for people, I want to shout out my family. My family's been a big part of like why I can do so well. Just they give me support all the time. Shout out to my missus. She's great. She always pushes me to do my best and just be a better version of myself every day. Obviously, shout out to my cousin Nicholas, my goat. You know, we call him the goat of OCE just because he's just that guy. And then yeah, shout out to PX3 because I'm on PX3 and For Dragon Ball, I'm also on an American team called Checkmate Fusion for some Dragon Ball stuff. So shout out to them as well. But no, just shout out to my friends and family, and shout out to you for having me on, Tim. I had so much fun talking. I just like to chat, and yeah, it was good.
I know it's been wonderful, and the learnings for me have been, like I've said, midway through. I was like, oh, and even it was off camera at the start. There, and I was like, oh man, slow down because you're dropping bombs, and we haven't
My
even
bad. That's on me.
started.
That's on me. That's on me.
Haven't even started
Yeah.
recording. So I don't. I'll ask. What's your favorite? Are you a manga, anime, or live action for One Piece?
I've watched the live action. I'm up to Dressrosa in the anime, and then for the manga, I'm kind of forced to keep up to date because one of my friends is up to date with it. But I would say my favorite is probably just the anime because I know it's very drawn out, but for me, I'm watching the anime with my missus, and that's just quality time we get to spend together. So I will just say anime for sure.
Yeah, cool. And then
Yeah.
so Dragon Ball question: what's your favorite form of Goku?
Dragon Ball question. Favorite form of Goku. My favorite form of Goku specifically is probably Super Saiyan God. It's the one where he's got his red hair. Red's my favorite color, so I just like the red hair Goku form, I guess. But I think
Yeah,
most of his forms are pretty cool.
yeah, they're all very cool. I still remember watching it on Cheese TV and being like, when he went Super Saiyan, it's like, oh my god, what is
Yeah,
happening?
yeah, yeah. That was me. That was me too back in the day. Like,
But
whoa!
yeah, I was like
Yeah.
running around the backyard trying to drop spirit bombs on my brothers, but
Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah, no, it's been wonderful and cool. Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it, and wish you all the best of luck in your future Dragon Ball and One Piece and Magic.
Magic's for fun. Magic's for fun. That's what I told myself
Magic's
now.
for fun. You
That's what I
never
told
know,
myself.
man. I was like,
Never know.
Magic might have my interest with the Avatar series. I'll tell you
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. That's how it's gonna get everyone eventually, man. When they announce Magic Dragon Ball, it's done. It's done, Zodo.
Awesome. All right. Cheers, mate. Thanks for coming on, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and good luck to you too. All right.
Cheers.